Hey, Sachin, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Lakshmi.
We've been working together a lot in the industry, and when you're talking to CSPs about their rollout of Open RAN, what are some of the considerations that they're going through in this journey?
I think we've talked to multiple customers, in the industry, especially when we are introducing ORAN, which is cloud native based. There have been a lot of concerns on the cost effectiveness of the solution, the operational cost and risks, and of course, how do they support the 4G and 5G deployments together exactly? One being on the legacy, one being on the cloud. Those are the aspects that come to their mind, and those are the questions that they raise when discussing these deployments.
What about disaggregation?
Disaggregation is definitely a key aspect of cloud native solution, especially in ORAN. Everything is microservices based, including the cell site components as well as the data center components. That brings in a lot of aspects into the play as to how you provide scalability, resiliency. There are different layers at which we need to provide these aspects in terms of architecture. So that definitely amps up the concerns and thereby the solutions needed to address those aspects.
So how is Mavenir working with the solution to help address some of the concerns that the CSPs have?
So currently we've deployed, together with you in Dish. That's our first SA FDD solution. One of the industry's first deployments we've had there, and we've had a huge success in terms of scaling up the network, providing end-to-end automation and providing kind of scalability as needed basis. And VMware has played a key role in terms of when it comes to the DUs, it has got real telco requirements. Unlike the data center based applications, you need to provide real-time aspects into the DU. When you bring in the cloud layer, you can obviously impact the timing requirements on the L1 layer, which is very key to the solution to work. And that's exactly one of the key points that even CSPs had concerns about. When you bring in these cloud layers, how exactly you provide these kind of, how do you address these kind of issues in the cloud deployment? And VMware has been able to address that with their 4.0 solution, with the VMware cloud layer. They've been able to achieve these timing aspects to address not only the SAFDD 4x4 kind of requirement, but also in terms of massive MIMO, which is a very time sensitive application. So we've discussed this before. In terms of bringing these solutions, automation becomes a key. How is VMware is addressing this challenge?
As we've thought about the whole lifecycle deployment, and certainly as we went through this massive scale of deployment where we deployed, tens of thousands of cell sites into Open RAN, it's really about thinking of the whole life cycle of this deployment, day one, day zero, day one, day two. And as such, we've really focused on taking this disaggregated stack, as we just talked about, and simplifying it, such that from a CSP's perspective, the deployment is simple. And not only with our telco cloud automation, but we've kind of added extended capabilities to that with a capability that we call Workflow Hub, which actually simplifies multiple actions across different products and different components and unifies it into a single CI/CD pipeline, so that from a deployment perspective, from the operator perspective, it just makes it easier and eliminates a significant number of manual steps or scripting steps, such that you're trying to really reduce human error, which is often a problem in these deployments. And that is absolutely what we're trying to achieve.
In fact, we've seen the results though. We've been able to deploy 400, 500 sites a day in a maintenance window.
Yes.
Which is a huge achievement, and we could go more.
We could do more, you're right.
Yeah.
And I think it's exciting to see that the industry is actually paying notice to what's been happening.
That's right.
So Sachin, how does our joint solution between Mavenir and VMware leverage cloud innovation alongside the innovation that you're bringing in the actual functionality of the radio to deliver a better TCO solution and quality of service for service providers?
Okay, so actually there are two aspects. When you talk about the TCO, things that we can virtualize. For example, in today's world, cell site have got a cell site router, which is a physical component, physical network function, which is a very high cost equipment to deploy in each site. We've been able to virtualize that, and as part of the VMware solution, we've standardized it going forward. So operator need not spend another $5,000 to $10,000 equipment every cell site. So that's a huge cost saving on the operator side. And of course, there's another component in terms of timing, the PTP, which is, you go with the C1 profile. It gives you an onboard GNSS support. Thereby, you can avoid a complete cell site switch having a GNSS functionality. So those are two huge savings for an operator. It's all cloudified, it's all software, and it's all in the DU server. That way, all they need is bring the DU server with C1 profile, with virtual CSR. They can save thousands of dollars per site, which is a huge saving for any operator.
The industry's been deploying traditional RAN for the last couple of decades, and it's really been not that much of a revolutionary path. And now, with Open RAN, I think we all believe in the industry that it's going to bring more choice and flexibility to the CSPs. How do you see what we're doing together, VMware and Mavenir, enabling or accelerating this capability for CSPs?
So the first thing is that we've proved this industry that this works at scale, which is what we've done in Dish. And of course, truly brownfield deployments, where you have legacy components running on a PNF, which is a physical network function, by bringing cloud native aspects on the same cell site and gradually swapping it over. How do we do that in a real world, in the sense, without impacting the end user? Because brownfields, one key thing about brownfield is the operator is still making revenue out of those sites. You cannot disrupt the environment. So what you need to do is, there are physical components that you need to fit in with the existing constraints in terms of how do you reuse the antennas, how you make sure your DU fits in the existing racks, how do you ensure your power is within the limits that is already provided to the site, and of course, how do you make sure that you don't add additional operational headache, which is what is addressed using a cloud-native solution. What we've done together is get the DUs racked and stacked, and then do everything remote, installing the BIOS, installing the operating system, cloud layer.
True zero touch.
True zero touch, yes, exactly. So that actually brings in the value to the operator, not impacting their existing revenue, introducing a layer at a time, and of course, monetizing those aspects, saving energy, saving operational overheads. This is exactly, we've hit that secret sauce, bringing in the cloud-native solution to a brownfield.
Well, yeah, I mean, we had a 5G standalone deployment, and now we're going into a 4G, 5G deployment together.
That's right.
Exciting times ahead.
Exciting times, yes.